Welcome back to AgriTalk, and thank you so much for staying with us. We have this very amazing conversation here with Dr. Henry Kamagi, whose main emphasis today is calling out for farmers and even those who are have intentions of getting into dairy farming to always having access and accessing the veterinary services available to them. So let's talk about dairy farming here in Kenya and some of the opportunities you think they have.
Now, some of the opportunities that I think the dairy farmer has today, we have a lot of credit facilities. For the short time that I've been home, I'm driving around and I see a lot of credit offering facilities. If there is somebody that is interested in dairy farming, I believe the opportunities for financial breakthrough is there. They might require some collateral to it, but are you able to put that collateral down depending on your interest? So that's one opportunity that they have. We have so much credit facility. The other opportunity that we have is access to veterinary care. University of Nairobi right now, and I believe Egerton right now, produces some of the best quality veterinary graduates that you can find in the world. That's the reason why some of us trained over here are able to make it out there, even in diaspora. We have some of the best brains in the veterinary world here today. But you know what? Are the farmers actually utilizing those brains? Are they utilizing that wonderful resource that they have? I think that's another big opportunity. The advantage we have as well is the aspect of seasonality which we don't have in the US. In the US, we talked about the 4 main seasons. We're talking of winter, summer, fall, and spring. We have the advantage of weather. Most of Kenya can actually support good, thriving dairy industries. Why are we not doing that? We have the advantage of land. Are we really utilizing our land for dairy production? Knowing very well that this is a country that boasts of around 60–70% agricultural production, are we really focusing on the animal aspect of that agricultural production? Because that's just part of it as well. So I think those are some 3 main opportunities that we have that we can really tap on right away. And number 3, we have the goodwill. Government is supporting dairy production. There are places where dairy production is not really supported, or if it's supported, perhaps in a limited way. But we have an advantage that we have a government in place that is supporting agricultural production. We really need to tap into that. And I think it is a great, great opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe just to top on that, we have cooperatives here who support farmers. Like they will give them the inputs they require. But then you find also that the price of the milk from the farm gate, the price is very low. Because a farmer will even sell their milk at 30 shillings. And then, of course, when it's processed, we will buy the same packet, the same liter of milk, in fact, 500 ml, I think at around 50 to 60 shillings, thereabout. So yes, they get all this help. They get all the inputs they require. But at the end of the day, how much is coming back to their pocket? How can you help them to be able to evaluate the unit, the value per unit?
And that was the biggest problem in the dairy industry, even in the West, for a very, very long time. And remember, I talked about the quality of milk. And that's why the world decided to shift from paying farmers for the volume. Because right now, when somebody comes to your gate and says, I'm going to purchase a liter of milk from you for 40 shillings. Now, the farmer has very little wiggle room there for negotiation. Why? Because you either take it or leave it. But if we can develop a system where there is very good marketing of the milk so that the farmer gets value for their milk, and that value is not just tied to volume, but the farmer gets value in terms of the quality. There is an incentive to the farmer in terms of if you produce milk that has less bacteria, then you're going to get a given level of percentage on top of the pay. If you talk to a farmer and tell a farmer, if you produce milk that has low level of somatic cell count, you're going to get a little more in terms of the pay. The farmer will go over and beyond to just produce milk. They'll produce the volume, but they also target the quality as well. If you start tying the price, and I've done a lot of work in this, if you start tying the price of milk to quality, the farmer gets the value of it. The farmer gets the value of it. The reason being, it is so simple to take the milk from a farmer and simply pay them for the 40 liters that they gave you. But if a farmer can know that on top of the 40 liters, you'll give me an additional 40 if I produce milk that is less in bacteria, guess what? That farmer with that 40 liters, he already ate 80 shillings instead of the 40 shillings. That is value to the farmer. And that will pay off right away. And how can we ensure that? We need to introduce value addition to milk production and completely eradicate the payment of the farmer on the basis of quantity of milk. That is not giving the farmer the value that they need in milk. I think we are shortchanging our farmers. I think we can do better. And I think their hands are tied because if they don't comply with what the marketers want, they are doomed with the milk. What are they going to do with all that milk? Dump it somewhere. So right now they spend a lot of money in terms of input, but they're not getting a commensurate amount in terms of output in their bottom lines financially. That is where the disconnect is. Yep.
And that rings a bell in my mind because many times we've been on the ground and we are interviewing these dairy farmers, but I don't think I've ever heard a farmer mention about the quality of milk. We always talk about how much milk are you getting from one cow. Do you feel like the feeds, your every input, your every investment you're giving each and every cow is giving you back the same? So do you feel like there is a gap in farmers' knowledge on really the difference? That it's not just about the quality, I mean the quantity of milk, but also good milk also should attract better pay.
And that's where the extension services come in, where the farmer needs to be educated. Now, I'll give you a very good example because this is where what I know and this is what I do. Anytime a farmer sends a pound of milk to a cooperative in the US, automatically they're going to be paid for that volume, right? But when you're talking about quality, they're talking of several things. They're talking about butterfat, they're talking about protein, they're talking about what we call MUN, mean urea nitrogen, and they're talking about somatic cell count. They are paid on 4 different parameters on top of the volume that the farmer over here is not getting paid. If you took that same cow from Kiambu and you took that cow to, say, New York, assuming they're able to survive. Normally we have the genetic environment interaction, they may not be surviving, but just let's make a general assumption. And that same cow produced the same amount of milk that it produced in Kiambu. I can tell you today, that farmer will make much more money in New York than they'll make in Kiambu. Do you know the reason why? Those 4 different attributes that the farmer in New York knows about, that the farmer in Kiambu does not know about, comes down to extension service. Can we educate our farmers? And we have extension service providers in Kenya today. They must not be veterinarians. We have agricultural people, agricultural extension officers. Let us educate our farmers. Let them know the value of their product. When they know the value of their product, they will then start having these meaningful discussions with the cooperatives. They will say, hey, tunafikiri tunachezewa hapa. The common term in Kenya, tunapangwa. Tunaona tunapangwa sasa. So when you start that discussion, then the cooperative will be like, wait a minute. We are now dealing with knowledgeable people. And if there is anything you cannot beat is a person with knowledge. So I think this idea of keeping knowledge away from the farmers is actually hurting our dairy industry in the long run. Let's improve our farmers by giving them the real extension services to improve their knowledge base. Once they do that, then that will automatically in the long run lead to better financial bottom lines. They will have better incentives to improve their breed. They'll have better incentives to improve their production system, buy more land for agricultural use, and things along that line. Yeah.
And for the time you worked here, did you feel like your knowledge and every other knowledge you had acquired from the university, really the market was ready for you? Did you feel like you were lacking? Did you feel like, somebody was drawing from you what you had taken all that time studying?
Now that's an interesting question. That's how I ended up in the US as well. I actually never even thought I was going to be a dairy veterinarian. Mm-hmm. All through, I thought I was going to end up in research and academia. And that's where I tailored my mind in. Until 2006, when I completed my grad schooling and an opportunity opened up in the US, and I went in and started off. But the only thing that made me survive there was the knowledge that I gained from home. East or west, they say home is always best. However much the dairy industry or the veterinary industry could be sophisticated in the West, I can tell you, we get the kind of training at our institutions back at home that will make us soldier in those environments out there, just as we would right here. So I tend to respect the kind of knowledge that I got over here, the kind of input that the University of Nairobi deposited in me, enabled me to go out to the world, not just in the United States, but all over, and utilize that same information. Now, did I feel that I was deficient in information? Not quite. Maybe the experience part of it, because I had not practiced, and therefore I was going to a different environment. There is that natural fear. But over time, you realize, kumbe sio mbaya vile, you just have to have that confidence. And I think that is what has made me survive so far. It is that foundation that was laid on me by the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, thank God, University of Nairobi, and that's what has carried me to date.
Wow.
Yes.
And do you feel like our veterinary from here are being compensated well for their services?
I do not think the veterinarians are paid enough. I'll be very honest. I don't think our veterinarians are paid enough. It comes down to the value we place. I'll take you a couple years back. The veterinarians and the human doctors were at the same job group at the beginning, post-independence and soon after that. Where did the disconnect occur? Right now, a veterinarian that is employed by government today, I don't know what job group they get into, but it is certainly not the same job group as their counterparts in the medical industry. I'm not about to start the politics of the veterinarians and the medics, but the truth of the matter is these are people that once were at the same job group, but now there is that disparity. The question is, where did we drop the ball? Where did we drop the ball? They take the same duration of time in college. The difference is one is a veterinarian, the one is a medic. I do not feel that the veterinarians in Kenya are compensated enough. In the United States, the very moment somebody identifies as a veterinarian, the level of respect changes. In fact, veterinarians are more respected in the US than the human doctors. Ask anybody, they'll tell you that. They'll tell you that. Veterinarians in the United States get much more respect than the human doctors. And that is a common fact. Check it out.
Why is that so?
Now, it's just the level of the training. It's just the value people have put in that profession. And that's what I feel the government needs to put. When you take the veterinarians, I was looking at the time that we had the lockdowns. It had to take the Kenya Veterinary Board to talk to the internal security guys in order to be considered essential workers. When they have to be going out and attending to emergencies, it is the respect that they give to this profession that lacks. And if you don't respect, there is always a saying, whatever you don't put value on doesn't yield virtue to you. The reason why the veterinary profession in this country is not respected is because we don't put value to that profession. And I think it is a disgrace, and we need to do better. We need to pay our veterinarians better because they deserve it. We are not mtu wa mkono wa kutibu wanyama. We are veterinary doctors. We are veterinary surgeons. And people need to identify with that. Yeah.
The right people that are supposed to hear this will get this message and do something about our vets back here at home.
Right.
So let's talk about the antimicrobial resistance and the role of the farmer in managing this.
Now, like I mentioned earlier on, before we went for the break, antimicrobial resistance is one of the biggest things in the world, not just in Kenya today. There's a lot of research, a lot of focus, educational and otherwise, a lot of policies going into AMR. And the reason for that is it is causing a lot of medical issues, okay? Antimicrobial resistance is a big thing globally. Now, why am I saying that the farmer has a role? When you go out and you don't seek professional help, you are going to pick anybody that walks with a syringe and a bottle of some concoction to inject your animal. Why? Because you think it is cheap. What have you just done? They might have just injected a concoction. It might be a drug, it might be an antibiotic. And what might happen if that animal dies? How many of us have the discipline to say, this animal was treated, let us not consume that meat? Or this animal is treated, let us not consume milk from that animal. You just transmitted some of that trace antibiotics into the human chain. Now, the farmer therefore has a role. When we talk of AMR, sometimes we think of, oh, somebody is overdosed. It has very little to do with overdosing. It has to do with the judicious application and use of antibiotics. And who are the people best suited to do that? Professionals. So if somebody is not allowed to prescribe, they should not touch drugs. But for almost 10 years, we have the veterinary bill lying in Parliament. We have the One Health bill lying in Parliament. Why can't these bills be released so that we have professionals handling the drugs? Right now, when you go to any pharmacy, you'll find human drugs, but you also find another shelf that sells veterinary drugs. I can walk in there without a veterinary license and simply say, sell me that oxytetracycline. You know what? They will sell it to me without question. We have to get to the point where drugs can only be sold. In the United States, nobody can sell you a drug without a prescription. And that prescription has to come from, be it a veterinarian or a medical doctor. Why can't we do that? It's a very easy thing to do. Why can't we do it? Anybody can walk with a drug in their pocket. Why is that so? So antimicrobial resistance, I talk with so much passion about it because it is killing our world today. And it comes from the non-judicious application and use of antimicrobial agents. We need to get away from that. We can do better. Yeah.
I really wish we had also those levels of, we have these policies yet, but who is there to implement or even follow up and just make sure that they are being implemented on the, on the marketplace?
And I think that's what is ailing our economy again. We have a lot of research that is laying in shelves. You can go and pick up, if everything that I'm talking about, you can go to some shelf somewhere, pick out a thesis and find somebody did some work on it. The process fails at the implementation level. Are these ideas, these researches, able to be implemented? Can somebody take them and roll them out in a way that can help society? The implementation is what fails. It comes from the policy. Do we have the right policies that will enable the implementation of some of these great ideas? I don't really think we do.
We need you here in Parliament. Do you think you'll ever come back and work here? You have so much so much knowledge, and I feel like we will really, really be happy to have you here in the country and just share this.
Do you know what I've been longing for one time? One day to come back and help shape the dairy industry in my country.
What's holding you?
Ah, man. Let's just say I'm planning on that.
Wow.
I'm planning on that.
Wow.
I'd be more than willing to come, even just for a short time, and help use the information that I've gained out there and the experience I've gained out there, and see how we can apply it to help our farmers back at home. The reason I'm back home today is because at the end of the day, you can flourish out there, but no place like home. I'm a naturalized US citizen, but no place like home. No place like home. I'll always make Kenya my first home.
So,
right.
Come back to Kenya, we will give you cows and cows just to make you feel in your right environment.
Oh, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a question I wanted to ask about climate change. And we know that people that are mostly affected are the pastoralists, are the people who are keeping livestock for their livelihoods. How do we mitigate that in the future? Because we are always caught in this net over and over, year after year, whenever we have this prolonged drought.
We have to come from the place of politicizing climate change. It is the reality. If we don't take care of our climate, we will be gone in such a short time. It is about time people realize that climate change is a reality. And what does that mean? We have to change our behaviors to mitigate some of these effects of climate change. When you are sitting down at home and you realize, okay, some of my actions could be contributing to this, it has to come down to the personal responsibilities of an individual in ways of mitigating climate change. Now, in the dairy industry, in the US right now, before I went into public health, I was a regulator. So I was going out as a public health inspector in dairy farms. And one of the things that we did, having served in the National Milk Committee, one of the things that we did over there was to start introducing ways of making sure that the farmers take care of methane, because the manure from the cows does contain methane gas, and methane is one of the gases that is considered to be depleting the ozone. So we started working with farmers. Can you get better feed that will ensure low methane production? So everybody has a responsibility in mitigating climate change. When I'm taking a shower in the house, why am I just going to use hot water on a hot day? Can I try to save some of that energy? You know, can I try to avoid some of these things that will mitigate climate change? It comes down to the level of personal responsibility. Now, I live in a country where they've politicized. People have politicized climate change. They've made it a Democrat and Republican affair. But I don't really think climate change is a political issue. It is a reality of life that we all must embrace. Yes.
Wow. So, in a nutshell, you talked about quality, farmers producing quality milk. What are some of the tips you can leave with them that they can be able to apply and at least see that the quality of their milk is improved?
One, if your cow is sick, get a qualified professional to treat your cow. Do you know what that will do? You end up with high quality milk, number one. Two, you end up with low somatic cell count. Number two, why? Because the cows go through the right phase of treatment, so the somatic cell counts will be lower. Three, the bacteria levels will be lower as well. When you do that as a farmer, the bottom line is seek professional help. Not everybody can treat your animal. Not anybody should treat your animal. Get professional help. It doesn't have to be a veterinarian, but make sure that if it is something that requires veterinary service, get a veterinarian. If it is something that requires an animal health assistance service, make sure that you are getting it from a registered person. It is okay, absolutely okay, to ask somebody, you want to treat my animal, can I see your Kenya Veterinary Board registration? Can I see your card? I have mine in my pocket right now. I walk with it. I'm a US vet, but I carry my KVB registration every time. Why? If I come home and I want to treat somebody's dog, I expect them to question me, and I shouldn't take offense out of that. And I expect every farmer, if you are disciplined enough and you love your business and you love your production, get in the habit, normalize the habit of questioning people's credentials. It is okay to tell somebody you are not touching my animal because I don't think you are qualified. That should be an easy thing to champion. So I think that's where we should start all this. Quality begins with seeking professional help to attend to professional problems.
Thank you so much, Dr. for making time for us. I can't really add more to that. Bottom line, seek professional expertise for your animals, and the results definitely will be good results. Until next time, it's bye-bye from us.